As we all know, Faith and Law is the program where we talk about the similarities and differences between the law of our land and our various religions. I hope you enjoyed today's show with me, as I have in the studio with me Barrister Hussein Olatomiwa Tijani.
Yes, thank you very much for having me on the show.
Yeah, you're welcome on the show. We are glad to have you. Polygamy. What exactly is polygamy? What's the definition you can give us about polygamy?
I think in a layman's term, if we are to define polygamy, it's simply the marriage of a man to more than one woman.
To more than one woman. Okay. So I know that you're a very, very fervent Muslim.
Yes.
Yeah, so and you know, we've always heard that your religion affords a man, you know, to take more than one wife. Can you, you know, explain and probably tell us what the Quran says about this stand?
Yes, Islam permits us to have more than one wife, but it puts a cap there to 4, albeit with some, I would like call it, with some conditions. So the Quran in verse 4, in Quran 4 verse 3, it says there that a man is allowed 1 to 4 women where he can take care of them. It is permissible in saying that he has to be able to take care of them, be able to treat them equally, love them, care for them, provide for them, housing, shelter, amongst others. And the law of, let's say, the Quran mandates him to have it equally between all 4.
Equally?
Equally, yes. Equally between all 4. But you know that that verse has been, I would like call it, let's say, has been abused by most Nigerians. Abused in the sense that men along we. So when you say men along, that's Yoruba. For the English is God says 4. So it has been abused in this part of the country. You see mostly abused in the north. And abused in the north in the sense that you see people who are not financially capable. People who, their finances, even they themselves are barely surviving. But yet still, you see them taking in more than one wife.
More than one wife.
Still getting up to 4. And I think the former Emir of Kano, that is in person of Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, during his reign before he was removed, yes, he did like a policy paper which is sent to their House of Assembly, trying to see how they can curtail it. Curtail it in the sense that, you see, when a man who is unable to cater for one woman to first begin with now takes on the added responsibility of
others, 2, 3.
2, 3, yes. So you see, they end up having many children. You see, because obviously he's going to be very sexually active. You end up having many children, and those many children that you have, where do you place them? Those children eventually become what we call al-majuris. I don't know if you've been to the north. Yeah,
we have them here too, down south.
Yes, but you see majorly in the north. You see, when during my law school in Kano, the first experience I saw was when we got to Kaduna. The children flocked the vehicle, and you see it was high. So we now look at it that in the sense that yes, God has said 4, but we've forgotten that God says you should be able to provide
for them.
And you must also be able to love them equally. We know that in the real sense of it is a bit hard for you to say you want to care.
I was going to go there. I was going to go there to ask you if it is even possible to love even your children who you bore. You're the one who gave birth to these children. You don't love them equally. Yes, you love them, and I stand to be corrected. You love them, but there's a way you would always prefer one to the other. Maybe because this one would always listen to you at all times, while the other one would not. So I feel like it's not possible to.
Yes, you're correct. In natural sense, that is. I think the Quran also tries to had already foreseen such an instance, and in that light, I think further in Quran 4, I think in either verse 123 or 128, it says that at the tail end of that particular verse, it says that it knows that it's impossible, but you should be able to have a common ground where there's a common ground and you act with just, you have the fear of Allah in your mind. You get, when you have the fear of Allah and you behave in a just manner, Allah will still forgive that your deficiency in loving equally. You understand? So, but it's not just, love. It's not just in love. The key things of provision is also there. And you see, Islam comes into the country in a unique way, such as where Christianity came also too. And interestingly, it met a certain custom. Now, bringing it to the Yoruba, to the West, it met a certain custom. In the West, you see, you had men marry more than one wife, but not necessarily with a cap of 4.
Yeah.
But they had more than one wife. And predominantly, what was the aim of having more than one wife was because as of those times, in those ages, in those climates then, there used to be farms.
Yeah.
You need people
more
to work.
hands.
God bless you. You need more hands on those farms. And you see, where you have your children working or tilling the farm, economically, it makes more sense. Because now you don't have to pay.
You have to employ.
You don't have to employ. You see, you have your children go to the field alongside your wives. And it was a thing of social status. But now, bringing it back now to the current reality, the age of farming, one way or the other, has whittled down.
Yeah.
We're now in a white collar climate now. People want to do office jobs.
Yeah.
You rarely see people much in the farming sector again now. So you see, so if you put those into play, people who aspire to have more than one wife, how do they take care? Considering also to that, as of the time the Quranic verse was revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam back then, he was to try to resolve an issue. You see, Quranic verses don't just come like that. There's something that is being cured. That's why those verses come. So when the verse came, as of that time, you see, there was war, and we had more orphaned females. There were more widows alongside others. And you see, people then, as of that time, were being, will I say, put in position of care over those people's, that's the widow and the orphans.
Okay.
So who also now, in being a widow or being an orphan female, there are some inheritances that must have been left by whoever was there as either the husband or the father. Yes. So you see, in those instances, people were put in cares of them. And in putting them in cares of them, the Quran verse came to show that, look, come, yes, you are responsible for these people, but you must not mismanage their affairs. You mustn't mismanage their affairs. And in not mismanaging their affairs also too, we also know that the fact that, okay, you might have one way or the other, there might be that relation that wants to now evolve into some sort of consensual relationship. And Islam frowns at you having something to do with the opposite sex without having it formalized. So that's what informed that particular verse. And this verse came with those breakers, with those conditions. And it says that if you cannot take care or love equally, stick with one.
Thank you for that. So there's this thing we usually hear that as a Muslim, you want to marry another wife. You need to seek the consent of the wife you have at home, probably the first wife or the person who you're bringing in another wife to come and stay with, or is that true? How true is that?
Ideally, the whole essence of you being able to marry more than one is for you to be able to love them equally.
Yeah.
And by extension, so, there has to be that cohabitation. Where you fail to inform the first wife, effectively you've caused a discord. There's a disconnect with whoever it is you're marrying after.
True.
And in that discord, you are already setting yourself for failure in terms of the conditions in Quran 4, verse 3, which has already said equally. The moment there's a discord, there's no way one will make you hate the other or love the other less.
Yeah, okay.
You understand? And you need to also put into consideration that intention, Islam says niyyah is more, that's intention. Intention is the chief of all things. Not necessarily your action, but the intention to it. And you see, some don't marry out of, I just want to marry another wife's sake. There may be other underlying issues. For instance, wanting to have a kid.
True.
The first wife might not be able to bear the fruit. You might not have the fruit of the womb. That it takes the second wife coming in, taking or getting pregnant before the first wife. So it's more like there's a Yoruba word for it. I can't remember now. Maybe later on. But it basically is to the fact that this one coming is the one that opens
the way for the other one. Okay, so what you're saying in essence is that it does not matter if the wife at home gives consent or not, but it is better she gives consent just to make the cohabitation easy.
It's way better, yeah.
And to fulfill the terms and conditions that the Quran has laid down for such type of marriage. Okay, thank you very much, Barrister Hussein, for that. I have really, really learned one or two things about the Islamic religion. Before we go on, let's quickly go on a very short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Enjoy inspirational, informative, and soul-lifting Christian programs such as Christian Parenting and Homefront, Light After Darkness, Fulfilling the Mandate, Kids and Bible, Movies Review, Shepherd's Spouse, Kingdom Stars, Teens Perspectives, My Next Gospel Event, and lots more on Divine Television. Download Divine TV mobile app on Google Play Store or watch on our YouTube channel. You can also visit www.tvdivine.net. Divine TV, enriching souls through the gospel of Christ.
Welcome back, and we're still on your favorite program, Faith and Love. Before we went on that very short break, we're talking about the Islamic marriage, what the Quran says about it. And I know that we have learned one or two things, just as I myself, I have done same. So this time around, we'll be going to the legal aspect of it. Marriage under the Act. I don't know if you've heard about it, if any one of you even know anything about it. Most of us call it court marriage. You say, yeah, I did court marriage. It is actually marriage under the Act. It is the registry that we've all gone to. So Barrister Hussein, I want us to tell us, what does it take? What is this marriage under the Act? We, under the layman's language, would say we're going to the court. Yes. So can you explain to us in layman language what it entails and,
basically, if you say marriage under the Act, first things first, it's important to know that there are three modes within which you can celebrate a marriage, that is, have a marriage.
Yeah.
The first one, in no particular order now. The first one being marriage under the Act, which is the court. The
court,
yes, the one that you refer to as the court marriage, which is basically or essentially the affirmation of two people stating that they are willing or they've now decided to be called husband and wife. Affirmation before the registrar of marriage would then you do what I call it like a oath.
Yeah.
Then you are penned.
Yeah,
the signatures, and you put your name on there's a particular form, the form E of the marriage. So it has the ministry there. You see, that's marriage under the Act.
More or less registering.
More or less, yes, God bless you. More like registering. So that's basically what you're just doing.
Yeah.
And there's also the marriage under Islamic law.
Yeah.
And which also covers, that is more like Akdul Nikai. Only Akdul Nikai. So
I learned there are two types of Nikai.
Yes, there are two types. Yes, there are two types. Then we have the third one being the customary marriage.
Yeah.
So the customary marriage is basically your engagement.
Yeah.
So you see, now in our climb now, you see people do engagements.
I did.
Then you also now do if the person
the courts.
Apart from,
at the church
for
or the mosque.
you see. So where now for a Christian now, maybe they do, the person is from either the east or the west. You do the traditional marriage, the engagements, then you now go to do the church. For the Christian, you do the church. Now, that church marriage now that you do, that you go before the priest. He also has his own, how would I call it? We like to call it technicality, but in the sense that there are some churches now that are licensed to hold marriages or celebrate marriages under the act.
Registered, yes.
Yes, so they register. So now, if you go to a church that already has that license, effectively, as you are doing before God, you're also doing before man.
Yes.
By registering.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, and you know there are some churches too that don't have that license.
Yeah.
So if you fall in that category of your church does not have that license, you go before God, you celebrate marriage. That's the second time you're celebrating. Then you will now go again.
Yes.
Before the registrar, which we call the court.
Yes.
To go and do another one again. So that's more like a triple-decker marriage.
Oh, that's what I did.
So that's what a triple-decker marriage. So it's interesting. And for the Muslims now, those in the West, you can't do a marriage first, the Yoruba in us. You must first do your engagement, your traditional. But you must first appease the community. So you first do that one first. Then when you now do that, you now go to the mosque. Or they come do it. Some collapse it in a day, some spread it. Then when you now do that, then you still now go to the registry. Some mosques have also, like those churches have also got licenses, so you might not necessarily need to go to the registry. So you see, when you have all that now, but you see those three modes now have their own, what I call it, special call it custom. Yes, special custom in the sense that what makes the marriages tick or valid rather, all differs. For the Akdu Nikah, all is required is the parents of both parties, 2 witnesses. In church, the parents or the guardian, 2 witnesses.
Yeah, same thing.
For the, the traditional one, witnesses, family, that's it. Then also too in the one before the title, before the registrar of marriages, witnesses too. But the key thing there is the way you dissolve them is what makes it now different. Yes, and you see, bearing in mind that, speaking to the topic of today, which is polygamy, out of the 3 modes of marriage, the Islamic, the traditional, which is the engagement, and the marriage under the act, 2 of them, which is the Islam and the Islamic marriage and the traditional, 2 of them don't necessarily punish you having more than one wife.
Yeah.
2 of them don't. But you see, the one under the act, there are punishments for it.
Okay, before we go to the punishments under the act, what are the do's and don'ts of marriage under the act?
The do's and don'ts are would like call it, is a simple line. The do's is you stick with one. You marry once. One man, one woman. The don'ts is once you exceed that one. Those are the don'ts. That's the don'ts. So you see, so it's there.
So it's what, just as far as you're coming under this act to say I want to be man and wife.
Yes.
You are entitled to one man, one wife.
One wife, yes. And which has been supported by the English law case of Eid and Eid. Eid versus Eid.
Okay.
So which defines it to say that a marriage is between one person, one man, and one woman.
Okay. So you said earlier that the do's and don'ts is basically one man, one wife. You cannot do more than that, you know. So when you now do more than that, like when a man now goes outside, to take in another wife, after contracting a marriage under the act.
It's interesting. It's not just one. It's not just a man.
It could be the woman too, of course. So I don't.
So
So I don't be biased.
Yeah.
So what if it is
the
woman too? Yeah.
Polyandry for the woman.
Yeah, polyandry, of course.
Polygamy for the man. In that space where one of the parties decide to go beyond the one man, one woman rule.
Yes, and sorry, whether I want to ask that if the person goes out to marry somebody else without dissolving, that's my question. Without dissolving the first one, yes, what is the offense?
When we say without dissolving, that's when you say dissolve, that's
Divorce.
Divorce, yeah.
Yeah.
You also need to understand too that there are some marriages that are void ab initio. When we say void ab initio, that marriages that you think you've contracted them, but it is an invalid one.
Yeah.
Basically, it's when you marry your blood, for instance, now, when you marry your blood, there's no marriage.
Yeah.
There's no marriage there. You see, that's what the English have termed incest.
Yeah.
So we don't have that. The law does not,
Permit such.
Permit such, yes. So, but the moment one person transgresses and decides to take another partner, that is either a male or female. Now, what that person does, the person has now contravened the law and has now moved into the realm of what we call bigamy, which is punishable. Now, bigamy, according to the Black's Law Dictionary, is the act of marrying one person while still legally married to another.
To another.
Yes. So now that is bigamy for you. So, and in bigamy, localizing into Nigeria, we have only one of our laws, which is the Criminal Code, which covers the southern part of Nigeria, that expressly mentions bigamy. And you find that in section 370 of the Criminal Code. It's the one that expressly mentions bigamy. And the punishment for it is 7 years imprisonment. 7 years. Yes.
Say because I refuse or I married somebody else.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. 7 years.
And speaking of interesting, more interestingly, we have under the Penal Code, which covers the northern parts.
Yeah.
Where coincidentally you also have majority of them being predominantly Muslims.
Yeah.
So in the Penal Code, by virtue of section 384 of the Penal Code, it also criminalizes you marrying more than one.
Oh.
Yes, interestingly, it also criminalizes it. So the punishment is 7 years with also with a fine.
Okay.
But now in defining or putting in place this punishment, it does not expressly mention bigamy, but it's something that you can, if you read, you can see that it implies bigamy, because it's saying when you marry more than one. See, and more curious is you find it that in the northern parts, we have about 12 states in Nigeria.
Yeah.
We have 12 states in the northern part of Nigeria that have already localized, or rather, will I say, permit polygamy by virtue of the Sharia law. You have states such as Bauchi, Borno, Gombe, Jigawa, Kaduna, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Niger, Sokoto, Yobe, and Zamfara.
Okay, that's all. I know you still have more to say. We are going to continue. But before we continue, let's quickly go on a short break. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Enjoy inspirational, informative, and soul-lifting Christian programs such as Christian Parenting and Homefront, Light After Darkness, Fulfilling the Mandate, Kids and Bible, Movies Review, Shepherd's Spouse, Kingdom Stars, Teens Perspectives, My Next Gospel Event, and lots more on Divine Television. Download Divine TV mobile app on Google Play Store or watch on our YouTube channel. You can also visit www.tvdivine.net. Divine TV, enriching souls through the gospel of Christ.
Welcome back. It is still your favorite show on Divine TV, Faith and Law. And I mean your humble host, Joy Bakari Ojoko. Before I went on that very short break, we were talking about bigamy. And I know that Barrister Hussein had a lot to say. You still had a thought, and I told you to hold on to it. So please, you have the floor again.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for allowing me to continue with my trail of thought. I said, in addition to the criminal code and the penal code, we also have, under the Marriage Act itself, by virtue of sections 46 and 47 of the Act, it also criminalizes, taking more than one. So, and prescribes a punishment of 5 years.
Come again.
5 years.
5 years?
Yes. prescribes 5 years. So, but the interesting thing in all these years is that there are, in actual sense of it, there are very few cases where we've actually like taken people to court and actually like adjudicate on them and pronounce sentences on them. So you have one, it was, I think one was either 1 month, the other $15 was the fine there.
Was the fine?
Yes. So there are a few cases there. So and when you look at it, when we say the few cases there, the mind of the judges, although some learned authors might disagree, but the line of the judge was to the effect that, look, particularly in the case of R versus Princewell and the case of States versus Ezeagbo Nweke. So now in those two cases, the court was more of the opinion of the fact that Nigeria by nature is a polygamous system. By nature. That's, I said earlier that we need to take it back before Christianity and Islam. In the West and in the North, I wouldn't know, maybe about a few people in the East, was predominantly a polygamous one. Albeit because of social status or predominantly for their farms. So those the court took into consideration that fact that we are by nature a polygamous system. And also the fact that the England that we received this law from, in their own system there, it is, in their culture, it's more of a one man, one woman thing. So it's a bit unheard of. And where you see a man or a woman contract another marriage where one still validly exists, usually they have deceived that person that they are marrying again.
It's a deceit, yeah.
Yes, there's a deceit in marrying the second person. That is to say that second person does not know that there exists one valid marriage already.
Yeah.
However, here in Nigeria, you rarely see, is a very rare, if not a non-existent factor or issue where you see somebody contract a second marriage and the person that is being married does not know that there's a first one. Because if there's no first one, how will we now know that there's what they call iyali?
Yeah.
There has to be a first one, so you are aware. And in most cases, people now, will I say, looking at the reality now, I'm taking away all our sense of we being woke. In the real sense of things, there are only few men, very few, if not rare, that you say that even after marriage they don't have concubines, they don't have girlfriends, or they don't have someone whom they have secretly married elsewhere.
Yeah.
Albeit because of various other factors.
Religion.
Childbearing being, not necessarily religion now. Childbearing, maybe religion, lust, albeit with any whatever intention. But you see, those things are there. Sometimes some people, upon getting married, they stop doing what it is they were doing before they got married.
Yeah.
So those things that gave the spark, the ginger, that enabled the person to say, look, I want to propose and marry you. Once they get into, they stop. So they get or basically maybe someone that was unable to explore while he was young is now married. He's now being exposed. He's more financially capable to fund
exploring life.
Do you understand?
I see.
So you see, while I think you need to remember that why I said earlier that in Islam, intention is key. So the reason why you are doing something is what is really there that Allah will judge on, not the action necessarily
itself. Okay.
Yes.
On that note, I have another question to ask. While I was praying for this topic, it didn't dawn on me. You earlier stated that we do double-decker marriage in this part of the world. Me, for instance, I had a church wedding, I had the registry, I had the traditional marriage. Now, let's take, for instance, a Muslim person, an Islamic religious or religion person, who did both the marriage under the Act and the Islamic marriage. So, putting in mind that the Islamic marriage allows or permits more than one wife for the man. So if such man, after contracting the same marriage with the same person under the act, now is that person now still permitted? You know, he also contracted this marriage under Islamic rights and then under the Marriage Act. Is this person still permitted to more than one wife, as the Islamic law and beliefs allows or permits?
I think in answering that question, one needs to first consider which mode of marriage was contracted first or celebrated first.
Okay, so what you're saying is, if the Islamic marriage was first contracted,
Yes.
then the Marriage Act cannot stand.
No, you see, when I say the one that was first contracted, you see, there are two schools of thought on it. There's one school of thought is the judicial pronouncement. The second school of thought is the position of the law.
Yeah.
So now, taking it from the position of the law, the Marriage Act, particularly as Section 33, it recognizes marriage that are contracted either via Islam or customary marriage.
Yeah.
It recognizes it, so it sort of validates it without necessarily having to contract the marriage under the act. So you understand? So but now, the second school of thought, which is the judicial pronouncement, you see, laws are laws, but they don't really, become effective, or have a particular standpoint, except where the court has interpreted that particular law. And now, bearing in mind, I said earlier that there are very few cases. There's the pond of, or the pool of cases that will have further boosted the punishments as prescribed by bigamy, the offense of bigamy in the country. There are very few cases. So now, in one of those few cases, that's the case of R versus Princewell, the court, when delivering the judgment in that one, stated that in deciding which one, now when you say you marry under customary marriage, you also marry under the act, and whether it affects you being able to take another wife afterwards. So the mind of the court was to the effect that if the first one you are contracting allows you to be polygamous, then by that fact, you can indeed have more than one. So if you had the marriage under the act first, before the Islamic or traditional marriage, the fact that you have the first one being the marriage under the act already prohibits you having more than one. So, however, if you had done the first one, which is the nikah or the traditional, which allows you, or which let me not say allows you, which does not criminalize.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that's what.
Yeah,
which does not criminalize you taking another wife. Then you'll be able to contract another one. But and in that case of that Princewell, the man got married in Jos. At that time, he got married, I think in either 1959 or 1960-ish or 1950, I'm not sure which. But that time in Jos, when he got married, he was a Christian. Then he later, down the line, he converted to Islam. They now married one Alima afterwards.
I have a practical aspect. You could say I was smiling when you mentioned that.
Yes.
My uncle, though late now, his first wife he married as a Catholic, and the marriage was celebrated in church. And down the line, because he's from a Muslim background, he converted to Islam and had 2 more wives before he died.
Yes.
Before he died, so of course nobody sued him, so we would not know if what he had done was right or wrong. We would not know. Thank you very much, Barrister Hussein, for that explosive section. That's all we could take on the show for today because of our time. I know that if we have to call you some other time, you'll be eager to come on the show.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, most esteemed viewers, for your time. I hope we have learned one or two things on the program today. That's where we'll draw the curtain. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on all our social media platforms, Divine TV. And I remain your humble host, Joy Bakare Ojoko. See you next time, same station. Bye.